Hi.
Hi there, welcome back to English for Specific Purposes at the level of B2. We are your hosts. I'm Mr. Darrow.
And I'm Miss Tatia. მოგესალმებით. კეთილი იყოს თქვენი დაბრუნება ჩვენს ტელესკოლაში. მე თათია ვარ, ეს კი დერილია. ჩვენი დღევანდელი გაკვეთილის თემა არის კულინარია. Culinary, a very, very tasty topic, right?
I always love to eat, and I always love to eat new things.
Okay, so we will just find out interesting things, learn new words connected with culinary. So I think that the lesson will be very interesting for you. But I think that before we move on to the lesson, we have to look at our agenda. What's on our agenda today?
Well, as you know, we always talk about the topic. It's an introduction to what we're going to talk about. We look at vocabulary words related to the reading text that we'll have to look at later on. After that, we'll move to the grammar section. We'll discuss that, we'll play a few games as well, and then wrap everything up with some homework.
გაკვეთილს როგორც ყოველთვის შესწავლით დავიწყებთ, შემდეგ შევისწავლით კულინარიასთან დაკავშირებულ ახალ სიტყვებს. წავიკითხავთ ტექსტს, რომელიც ასევე კულინარიასთან იქნება დაკავშირებული. ამას მოყვება გრამატიკა. შემდეგ შევაჯამებთ გაკვეთილს და დავასრულებთ საშინაო დავალებით. Let's get started. Mr. Darrell, as today we're going to talk about culinary, I would like to ask you what kind of food do you enjoy eating? And are there any local products or from other countries? For example, do you prefer like traditional cuisine or just cuisine from different countries?
Yeah, I mean, no, everything. I mean, I find all kinds of food fascinating, and I can find something good in almost everything. So I like everything. Traditional foods, Georgian foods, a lot of Georgian food as well, and of course world international food as well.
I'm so happy that you like Georgian cuisine, and I know that you have your favorite ones, favorite dishes among Georgian dishes.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned before, like chadi and cheese, kharcho, romi.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. So I also like Georgian cuisine. I also like Italian food. I like spaghetti in different dressings, and it's so tasty. And yeah, I agree with you. Chinese food is also very good and interesting. Yes.
Italian food, lasagna as well.
And lasagna is also very nice.
Yeah.
So I think that you can choose different dishes from different cuisine.
It's one of the benefits of living in this modern time. We have access to all kinds of foods from all different kinds of countries.
Okay. Now just let's move on to the first part of our lesson, which is introduction of new words, and let's study the words. Let's see what we have. The first word we have is to dice. To dice is a verb, and in Georgian it means qubis formit dajra. So very often we dice vegetables for salads, right?
Correct.
So what is the definition of the word?
Looking at all these words, you're going to be experts in the kitchen after this. Dicing is when you exactly cut food into small squares. It could be vegetables, could even be meat of a certain kind if you're cutting it into squares.
Okay, so dice, it's a verb, and in Georgian it is qubis formit dajra. And here we have an example: dice carrots before putting into soup. I never dice carrots. I usually grate carrots.
Yeah, very good point. So do I. I should try dicing.
Yes, try it. What is the next word we have, Mr. Darrell?
It's a verb, to dress something.
Okay, to dress is a verb. And in cooking, it means shekazmua, okay? To dress is a verb again, and in Georgian it means shekazmua. So how would you define this word, Mr. Darrell?
It's when you add something, usually liquid, and most usually oil or vinegar, to something to add extra flavor.
Okay, so to dress, it's a verb, and in Georgian it means shekazma. And here's an example: dress the salad with the proper dressing. Okay, so dressing is a noun, it means, and to dress is a verb, right?
Yeah.
And as a dressing, we can use different types of things. For example, can mayonnaise be considered as a dressing?
Yeah, that's a bit unusual for me, but I think it has been used as a dressing, yeah.
Okay. Now let's move on, and the next word we have is to grate. To grade is a verb, and in Georgian it means სახელით გახეხვა. To grade. And how would you define that word, Mr. Daryl?
Usually used with like carrots, as you mentioned earlier. Yeah, you take some food and you rub it against a grater and you shave the piece of food into small pieces.
As I said, I usually grate carrots and carrots to cook soup, right?
Yeah.
Okay. To grate, it's a verb, and in Georgian it means სახელით გახეხვა. And here's an example: grate cheese on spaghetti. Oh, it's so delicious when you grate cheese on your spaghetti.
Parmesan cheese in particular.
Yes. Okay. And what is the next word we have, Mr. Daryl?
It's a verb, to mince. Mince.
To mince is a verb, and in Georgian it's translated as საკებ მანქანაში გატარება. So generally we mince meat, right?
Beef.
Yeah, beef.
For spaghetti, in fact. So this is when you cut food, especially meat, but it can be other things as well, into small pieces, sometimes using a machine.
Okay, I think that everybody uses machine to mince meat.
You would have to, yeah.
Okay, mince is a verb, and in Georgian it means საკებ მანქანაში გატარება. And here's a very good sentence: mince the meat for cutlets.
Cutlets, yeah.
Cutlets.
How else would you make cutlets without minced meat?
You can't.
Yeah.
You have to mince meat.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, well, now the next word we have is a whip. A whip is a verb, and in Georgian it's translated as ადღვება, ატქვევა. Whip. What can you whip generally?
Well,
maybe eggs?
Yes, you could definitely whip eggs and cream as well for cakes
cream,
as well.
Yeah.
So you whip it, you stir it hard and fast with special equipment in order to make it thicker and firmer, the cream.
Okay, so whip, to whip, is a verb, and in Georgian it's translated as ადღვება, ატქვევა, and here's an example: whip the cream for the cake. Oh, here is the same example as you have provided.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and I think that we have finished with the words, and it's time for the exercise, okay?
Yes.
Let's practice. So we will see definitions on the screen, and we have to choose the right words for the definitions. And the first definition is the following: to cut meat into very small pieces using a machine.
As you mentioned, using a machine, you're probably mincing something.
Yeah, and you will cook cutlets.
Yeah, cutlets, or ground beef for spaghetti as well.
Okay, and lasagna.
Yeah, lasagna as well.
Okay, and you are right, Mr. Daryl. So to cut meat into very small pieces using a machine is called mince, to mince. Now it's my turn, and I'm waiting for my definition.
Here's your definition: to mix food very quickly in order to put air into it.
Okay, and I think that I know the word, and this is to whip. Am I right?
Yes, you're right.
So to mix food very quickly in order to put air into it, it's whip, to whip. Okay, let's move on, and here is a definition: to rub cheese, vegetables, chocolates, etc. against the grater in order to cut them into small pieces. What is the word, Mr. Daryl?
The answer is, the clue is in the sentence, and it is to grate.
And you are right, Mr. Daryl. So to rub cheese, vegetables, chocolates, etc. against the grater in order to cut them into small pieces is called to grate.
Here's yours.
Yeah.
To add flavor to salad by putting a mixture of liquids such as oil and lemon juice to it.
I know the word. It must be dress. To dress is to add flavor to a salad by putting a mixture of liquids such as oil and lemon juice on it. And the last one for you. So what is the verb which means to cut something in small square pieces?
To dice. You dice something, you cut into small pieces. As you know, the actual dice in games are small squares, so that's where it comes from.
Oh, I've never thought about it. Right, yeah, right. To cut something in small square pieces is called to dice. And I think that we're finished with the first set of vocabulary. It's time for reading. But before we read a text, I think we have to learn some words and have some discussion
Yes.
to get ready to read the text. So
let this be the question to lead us off. Now, which foods are shared in our culture? For example, like
in Georgian and in
North America, Canada.
Canadian culture. So bread is usually shared.
Yeah, sandwiches. We have sandwiches. Do you have sandwiches?
We do. No, but it's not traditional, by the way.
Ah, then no, we don't.
We don't. Yeah, it turns out that we don't.
Salads?
We do. But I don't know if there is any like type of Georgian salad.
Yeah, there is. Like
maybe there is.
Cucumbers and
all the vegetables together with mayonnaise, maybe.
I've seen the classic one: cucumbers and tomatoes, and you put some salt on it.
Yes. Yeah. By the way, you're right. I think that you know Georgian cuisine better than I.
No.
Okay. Well. Okay. So I think that there might be some other things also which are shared. And we're going to read a text about the food which is shared. But before we do that, I think that we have to learn some words.
Very good.
And the first word we have here is prominent. Prominent is an adjective, and in Georgian it means მნიშვნელოვანი, ასევე გამოჩენილი. Prominent. So how would you define that word, Mr. Daryl?
Prominent is anything that's really well known or important.
Prominent, an adjective. And in Georgian it means მნიშვნელოვანი, გამოჩენილი. And here's an example. Gordon Ramsay is a prominent cook. Yeah, everybody knows, and he has some TV programs where he teaches how to cook, I think.
And he's famous for his personality.
Yeah.
Kind of a harsh personality.
Really? I didn't know. It's something new.
No, he is.
Okay, but I'm really not into cooking, and that's why maybe I don't know this.
Maybe.
Okay, well, and the next word is?
Nourishment.
Nourishment is a noun, and in Georgian it is sakwები. And how would you define that word, Mr. Daryl?
It's food that you need to stay healthy and maybe even to grow larger, grow bigger.
Okay, nourishment. It's a noun. In Georgian it is sakweby. And here we have an example. Young babies obtain all the nourishment they need from their mother's milk. Okay, and what is the next word, Mr. Daryl?
It's a noun, and it is root. Root.
Root is a noun, and in Georgian it means pesvi. How would you define that word, Mr. Daryl?
Well, it's part of a plant, of course. It's the part of the plant that
the
grows.
main part of a plant.
Well, the part of the plant that's underground and that absorbs nutrients from the land, water, and other types of things. And of course, it also means the origin of something, the origins of something.
Root, it's a noun, and in Georgian it means pesvi. And here we have an example. Many customs have deep roots in the past. And it means that they originate from the past, right?
Like Georgia.
Okay. And the next word we have is cleansing. Cleansing is can be a noun, can be an adjective. It depends on how we use it in a sentence. So cleansing as an adjective means გამწმენდი. Can you give us more details about the word, Mr. Daryl?
It's very simple. Something that cleans or is used for cleaning.
Thank you. So cleansing, it's an adjective, and in Georgian it means გამწმენდი. And I will give you an example for better understanding. Some food have cleansing quality. Okay, and the next word is?
It's a verb, to feed. To feed.
To feed. To feed is a verb, and in Georgian it is translated as გამოკვება. How would you define that word, Mr.?
This is when you give food to a person, to animals as well, to anyone.
Okay. Feed. To feed is a verb, and in Georgian it means გამოკვება. And here is an example. I always try to feed my children healthy food.
It's a good mother.
So I'm trying to be. Okay, and the next word we have is grain. Grain is a noun, and in Georgian it means მარცვლეული, which is very healthy, I think, right?
Generally, yeah. It has its purpose as well to eat grains. This is the seed or seeds from a plant, especially something like rice or wheat, and you often have it. You turn wheat into bread, of course, and so on.
Okay. Grain, it's a noun, and in Georgian it is მარცვლეული. And an example, grains are very healthy to eat in the morning. And I know a lot of people who eat grains in the morning.
Then they must be healthy.
Yeah, they are. I think that we have finished with the words, and it's time for the text. Let's read the text and find some interesting information about food sharing and the culture related to food.
I'm looking forward to this.
Okay. So we usually understand when someone speaks or writes to us, and many gestures and facial expressions have meaning too. But have you ever considered what and how we eat as a form of communication? Food serves the purpose in two fundamental ways. In many cultures, people share food at meal times. Sharing bread or other foods is a common human tradition that can promote unity and trust. Food can also have a specific meaning and play a prominent role in a family or culture's celebrations or traditions. The foods we eat and when and how we eat them are often unique to a particular culture, or may even differ between rural and urban areas within one country.
So food can help with socializing and getting to know people as well.
Yes.
In most cultures, bread represents nourishment. It is also one of the most commonly shared foods in the world. Sharing bread, whether during a special occasion or at the family dinner table, is a common symbol of companionship and togetherness. In fact, the word companion comes from the Latin roots cum, meaning together, and pouls, meaning bread. Many cultures also celebrate birthdays and marriages with elaborately decorated cakes that are cut and shared amongst the guests. Early forms of cake were simply a kind of bread, so this tradition has its roots in the custom of sharing bread. Food also plays an important role in many New Year celebrations. In the southern United States, pieces of cornbread represent blocks of gold for prosperity in the new year. In Greece, people share a special cake called vasilopera. A coin is baked into the cake, which signifies success in the new year for the person who receives it. Most of the foods eaten during the Chinese New Year have symbolic significance. Sometimes this is based on their shape. For instance, long noodles symbolize long life. The symbolism can also be based on the sound of the word in Chinese. For example, people give out oranges because the word for orange sounds like the word for wealth.
Oh, these are just very nice traditions, which is very interesting to hear about.
And they change all over the world.
And I like this idea of putting a coin in the cake.
For good luck.
Yeah. Okay. Food could also be part of a ceremony. For example, many cultures have ceremonies to celebrate the birth of a child, and food can play a significant role. In China, when a baby is 1 month old, families name and welcome their child in a celebration that includes giving red-colored eggs to guests. In Afghanistan, parents feed babies butter and sugar for the first 6 days of life to symbolize cleansing. In a ceremony around 100 days after a child's birth, Japanese families symbolically feed the baby by putting different kinds of food to its lips, and sometimes putting a single grain of rice in its mouth. This ritual expresses their hope that the baby will never be hungry. In many cultures, round foods such as grapes, pomegranates, bread, and moon cakes are eaten at welcome celebrations to symbolize family unity.
So there's a lot of hopes in food as well. You hope for good luck in the future, good prosperity in the future. Nutrition is essential for life, so it's not surprising that food is such an important part of different cultures around the world. The food people eat during celebrations and ceremonies can symbolize many things, but sharing food is one custom that almost all humans have in common. This means you have to experience food sharing ceremonies at some point in your life, and you should fully enjoy it.
Okay, it was a very interesting text. I heard some information which I have never heard before, so it was really, really worth reading the text.
Yeah, I agree.
And Mr. Cheryl, I want to ask you, what is the main idea of the text? And we have 3 options. First, the importance of food in culture. Second, the high cost of eating well. And 3, the importance of healthy eating.
Okay, taking the general idea of the text, I'd have to say the first one was correct. The importance of good food in culture.
Okay, so there was nothing said about the cost of eating well or the importance of healthy eating. So definitely it's the importance of good food in culture. And we have one more task for this reading. We have some statements and paragraphs. As you could see, there were 4 paragraphs in the text, and
4 sections, yeah.
4 sections, and we have to match these sections with the statements. So the first one is, food is important in many New Year celebrations around the world. Do you remember which, in which paragraph we read about?
Yes, if I recall correctly, it was paragraph 3.
And you are right, Mr. Daryl.
I'm going to ask you the second one. Now, do you remember which paragraph or section this was mentioned? Around the world, food is important in welcoming ceremonies for young children.
I remember, and it was in paragraph 4.
With the Japanese tradition there?
Yes, you're right. And the next one, food can bring people together. I remember we read about it, that food can bring people together. And when we started reading the text, we read it.
Yeah, it seems to be the main theme of what we spoke about, and has to be paragraph section 1.
You're right, Mr. Daryl. Here is the answer. And the last one?
Obviously the last one. Food is a way of communicating. It was mentioned in
paragraph 2. I remember it was in paragraph 2. They talked about that the food might be the way of communication.
Yes.
And we have finished with the reading part. And now it's time to move on to grammar. And the topic of today's grammar is future in the past. That's a strange thing, right? Past and future in that past. Okay,
Yes.
and let's find how it works.
Okay. So the future in the past is the tense used when we're talking about the past, and we want to refer to something which was in the future relative to that past's time.
Yeah, so strange. So future in the past structures are the past form of will and to be going to. Subject plus would plus verb, or subject plus was or were plus going to plus verb. And now let's look at the examples. The owner of the restaurant said that he would take care of the customer. So it's past. So he said that he would take care of the customer. So it is future relative to that past moment. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Or I read they were going to open a new restaurant. Okay. Again, this is future relative to that past moment. Okay. You have to practice now. We will see sentences with gaps and 3 options, and we have to choose the right option for the gap.
Here's your sentence, Ms. Tatia. We couldn't be at that party because we, and now you'll have to choose something from the choices given, abroad the following day.
So it means that we had something planned for the next day. So I would say the sentence the following way: we couldn't be at that party because we were going abroad the following day. Now the sentence for you, Mr. Daryl. Are you ready? So Peter decided and then there is a gap, to France on holidays. And the options are A, will go, B, would go, C, went. Which one would you use here?
This one is a little clear, quite clear actually. Peter decided, it can only be B, of course. Peter decided he would go to France on holidays.
And you're absolutely right. Now it's my turn to try.
Here's your sentence. And then you've got a couple of choices, and it continues, to the party. But Peter made me come.
Let me look at it. I think I would use here C, the option. I would choose here option C, and I would say the sentence this way. I wasn't going to go to the party, but Peter made me come.
Very, very good.
And the last sentence for you, Mr. Daryl. Get ready. I was sure then there is a gap, a delicious meal. And the options are we're going to cook, would cook, and cooked. Which one would you choose here?
I would choose the second one for sure. I was sure we would cook a delicious meal.
And you are right, Mr. Daryl. And unfortunately, our lesson has come to an end, and we have to wrap it up.
After all that talk of cooking, I'm kind of hungry now.
Okay, me too.
Okay, Ms. Tatia, as you remember at the beginning, we looked at lots of words that you would need to use in the kitchen. Then we went to the reading, which is about culture and food. And then we looked at the grammar, which was the future in the past.
Nice. I think that it's time for homework. What are we going to have for homework, Mr. Daryl?
Well, I think it had to be connected to food, of course. And it is. We'd like you to write a paragraph about a special dish eaten in your culture on a special day.
Maybe a recipe.
A recipe would work as well. And maybe you could use the words we introduced in the vocabulary section.
It would be a good idea.
Dicing, grading, and so on.
Okay. And where can the homework be uploaded, Mr. Daryl?
It can be uploaded to the address you see on the screen right now, and you can also find a sample answer at that address.
Very nice. I think that everybody will look at the sample first and then provide their own version.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Daryl, I think that we have come to the end of the lesson and we have to say goodbye to the audience, right?
It is time to maybe put aside food and look forward to newer topics.
Maybe yes. Okay. So stay with us and keep on learning.
Until next time, goodbye.
Bye.